schools. My boys went to Catholic school up through the 8th grade. Then they went to public school. My youngest son, as we were talking off air, is in an academy playing soccer. He's now doing an online school, which is essentially like a homeschool program. So he can get morning training done. He can do afternoon trainings. The amount that he's getting done in a third of the time that my son is sitting in school for 7, 8 hours a day, my oldest son, is amazing. And guess how more interested is he is to learn. And he doesn't walk into those walls and feel like the prison's like closing in around him. And so I love just the idea because I've always felt like that, which I'm sure is why you're doing what you're doing because you felt the same way, right?
Man, so here's the deal. Like, I figured out the game early, and I just played the game and played it well, right? Like, that's one of the things. So people will say, "Oh, well, school didn't work for me," and then other people will come along and go, "Ah, but it worked for me. Like, it worked really well." Did it work well for you, or you just did well at playing the game? And because that's great if you did, but what should education be for? Like, what are those years supposed to be for? Because they're theoretically supposed to be these foundational years that get you ready for life. So your son is playing soccer, right? So because he's working towards playing soccer, I'm gonna go out on a limb and I'm gonna say all the practices and the things that he's going to. What do they play? Soccer, probably, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be weird if we said, "All right, Scott, your son, like, we really want him, like, he's got a potential to do all these cool things in soccer, so we're gonna have him come to this academy, and then all day long, man, we're gonna have him play basketball." He'd be like, "Well, that doesn't make sense." Right? And yeah, he can get really good at basketball. But then when he's gets really good at basketball and is asked to then go on the soccer field and go, "Okay, let's transfer all," you'd be like, "Well, shit, shouldn't I have played soccer?" Right? Hey, welcome to school. You can be really good at school, and then the game of life happens, and you're like, "Wait a second, I got straight A's. How come I don't have this figured out?" That's the problem. That's the design. It's not the same game, right? So I did really well in school. I got straight A's the whole way because I figured out the game. That's all. And then I got done and went, cool. Now nobody cares. The world doesn't care that I got straight A's. Nobody cares. What can I do? Who am I? How much do I know about myself? How much value can I go create? What kind of patterns can I recognize? Who's my circle of friends? What am I spending my time on? What are my habits? Like, what all of those things that the world actually asks you to prove and be competent in were not things that I spent my time on. So do well in school, don't do well in school, eh, it's not a predictor of what you're going to do in life. That's a problem. We should use those years wisely.
Well, it's really interesting. We have lots of friends whose kids are straight A students, and when they're straight A students, they get ready to go to college, and they really almost like just expect to have the best universities want them. They expect this result, like they're just going to keep following directions. And it's funny because I've never ever put the value or the weight as a father on the grade. I put it on the effort. I put it in like if you're challenged at something, how can we learn better? I would pull up the Khan Academy when they were young, and I'd say, hey, let's look at it from a different way. There's got to be a different way to pull this data up because my boys are they're more entrepreneur driven, they're more disciplined, they're great teammates, they can build anything from the ground up when it comes to ideas and I think business concepts. I think they're frameworking that type of stuff, but science and math isn't always what they're going to be great at. Mom's a school teacher. So at the end of the day, mom teaches in the public school system for, kindergarten for 21 years and every single day comes home frustrated. Her number one frustration is her inability to actually teach kids what they need to use. And so, as you talk about these things, I think back of the very first week that my son goes up to this new training academy, soccer. I had to convince my wife that this was okay, that he's going to be just fine. And in week one, he sends us a text. He had ridden his bike or scooter up to the local coffee shop up the street. Mondays are asynchronous days, so he didn't have training until the evening. He's sitting in a coffee shop at 14, doing his schoolwork on his own, getting ahead so he has more time to train later, comes home, eats one of his high protein mighty meals that he's got. And I look at my wife and I said, he did his own laundry. He's done all these things that he was coddled with in some respects for a long time. Watching his growth and development as a man, as a human, was so valuable that I know he'll thrive when he gets to the real world.
Bingo. So he's being led well. So shout out to you and the wife right there. He's being led well. That's not a product of the
The school.
academy. Hopefully
Right.
it helps. I really hope they do, and I'm sure they're doing a great job. So shout out to them too. But shout out to you guys for leading well. Like that's it, right? And so there's different levels to what you just said right there too. That I just want again. It's just I think people need to think through this and just be intentional on this. I understand circumstances and I get it. I get all of those. I get the whole thing. I pay attention to life, so I know how it works. But let's talk about this too. So you said effort. Does the effort matter? Yeah, the effort is what matters, right? 100%. But also effort at what? Because sometimes we'll put a lot of effort, and we do it as adults too. We'll put a lot of effort into something that doesn't matter. But we'll call it, we'll wonder why we don't have progress, and we'll call it, effective. But we're like, eh. So your wife, she's a kindergarten teacher for 21 years. That's awesome. Does she come home and put a ton of effort into fixing the engine in the car? No, it doesn't. That
It's
doesn't.
not going to matter.
It's not going
Nothing,
to matter.
nothing
That
she
doesn't.
does will change that system because the system's broke.
Doesn't. And so it doesn't change that, right? It doesn't make. And so for our kids too, even the ones that are doing what your son's doing, putting in the effort, rocking it. That's awesome, man. What if he got to put in that same amount of effort towards something that actually moved him forward too? Like, you can put a ton of effort into school, if it still doesn't transfer into something great later in life, I would still argue there's a waste of time that's happening there. So, like, how that's my whole thing is like, how do we get people to be as intentional, as efficient as they want? I don't my own personal thing, man. I don't want to look at my schedule for the day and be like, I got 3 hours of intense effort into that video game right there. Why? Because it doesn't do anything for anybody. It doesn't serve a purpose. So I'm not going to put an intense effort into that. I don't want to waste people's time. And I think that and I don't want to waste my own. And I think so many people are stuck in a rut of wasting so much time, man. And it's like it's antithetical to what we started talking about, that curiosity.
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.